welcome to exercise application video number 16, I believe. Today for my exercise, I actually just played soccer for about 30 minutes for some cardio. So something a little bit different. In class we just wrapped up with the heart and we're moving into the respiratory system. So today I want to talk about partial pressures within the body. So I'm not going to get too into depth with the heart anymore because I've already spoken about that in my previous videos. But the idea is you get blood returning to the right atrium from the superior and inferior vena cava. This blood is deoxygenated because it's returning from systemic circulation. So in our blood that's going from the right ventricles then into the pulmonary arteries, when it arrives to the lungs, we have blood with a high partial pressure of carbon dioxide, because as we exercise, as we're converting pyruvate into acetyl-CoA that then goes into Krebs cycle, our byproduct is carbon dioxide. And as we burn fats, carbon dioxide is just a byproduct of our bioenergetics. So we see a higher amount of that from our muscle tissues as we exercise, especially, but even just in daily living. But as an exercise phys application, today when I was playing soccer, I was producing more carbon dioxide, so I was exhaling more because my goal was to get more carbon dioxide outside of my body. When you are hyperventilating, like after exercise, when you're the goal actually isn't to get in a bunch of oxygen, it's actually to expel all the carbon dioxide. So during exercise you produce more carbon dioxide as a rate of increased energy metabolism. But that blood then in the lungs, your lungs have these little sacs called alveoli, and they are 1 cell thick. They're made of simple squamous epithelium. So, and your capillaries are also made of simple squamous epithelium, which allows for easy diffusion. So what can happen is we have that high partial pressure of carbon dioxide in our blood and our capillaries, and capillaries perfuse through our alveoli, so they're just running through. And then in our alveoli, we have a very high partial pressure of oxygen because we're in the lungs, right? That's where our oxygen is stored. When we breathe in, that oxygen is going to our lungs. So things like to follow a high to low pressure gradient. So we kind of exchange those gases. Our capillaries receive the oxygen, carbon dioxide is offloaded into our lungs, we exhale. So then this blood returns to through the pulmonary veins, to the left atrium, then to the left ventricle, then boom, we go out the aorta. From here, we're going into systemic circulation. So we go through the aorta, which is an artery, then into arterioles, then we end up at the capillaries. And so here we have the same idea, 2 layers, so we have 2 simple squamous epithelium, so 2 cells. And so our muscle cells, especially as we're working, they're producing carbon dioxide, like I talked about, as a result of bioenergetics. So we have a very high partial pressure of carbon dioxide in our body and a need for oxygen, because if you remember, in the presence of aerobic phosphorylation, we need that oxygen to act as a final electron acceptor. So oxygen is essential for our living, but especially for sustaining our exercise. So what happens is the high to low pressure gradient, the high oxygenation from the partial pressures in the blood from the capillaries goes into the muscle cells, and then we offload carbon dioxide. So in our capillaries we kind of see half of it is oxygenated and then the other half is deoxygenated. So that's why as we return back to the heart, we're going up through the superior and inferior vena cava, we have deoxygenated blood. And so this was just an overview on the partial pressures, and in my next video I'm going to talk more about the actual process of ventilation and exhaling and inhaling.